Revolutionary greetings, comrades. I think early this year or late last year, we did record a video talking about American democracy. And we said that American democracy is not based on the will of the people. It is based on its economic interests. The question arises again today on what is American democracy or Western democracy. In this short video, we are discussing the Russian Ukraine, some call it conflict, to understand briefly. We will, of course, later on give a detailed background. We wanted to interview a member of the Russian Communist Party to give us a detailed account on what is happening. We are still trying to get comrades in Russia to agree to an interview so that we get a detailed background on what is happening in Russia, Ukraine. We took a position as the Zimbabwe Communist Party that where there is in a country where there is a communist party, we must always be guided by the communist party in that particular country. So this is what we want to do. But of course, there are people that are asking. One person wrote to me in another WhatsApp chat group, and I will read. He says, "Babu Mbuduma, meaning myself, I even heard your comments on the imperial aggression by the former Communist Party of Russia and the Russian Duma parliament on the stricken, also former communist in bracket, Ukraine. Or perhaps since it's one communist against another, therefore it does not matter." This is what this person writes to me. Firstly, just to clarify that President Putin, while we agree with him on a number of issues internationally, he is not a communist. He is not a member of the Communist Party of Russia. It's important to clear this. But on the strike against imperialism, we agree with the position that he has taken, but he is not a member of the Communist Party in Russia, and the Communist Party in Russia is not in power. It is in the opposition. It does have some seats in parliament in Russia. Now, let's get to what is happening. Just as I've said briefly, the Western media tells us that President Putin is invading Ukraine. That is not correct. And the Western media, the Americans, the European Union, and everyone else in the West, they are advancing this narrative that President Putin is invading Ukraine, and therefore they are putting sanctions against Russia. They are imposing sanctions against Russia. Already, the United Kingdom and the Americans have imposed the sanctions on some commercial banks in Russia. On the basis that they are saying President Putin is invading Ukraine, it is not correct. What has happened is that some 8 years ago, some regions in Ukraine declared their independence. There was a referendum. The people of those regions, in the Donbas regions, declared an independence. They went to a referendum. The majority of them voted to move out, to declare that they are now independent. That is the Donetsk and Lugansk regions. They are now republics. They declared themselves 8 years ago. There's been a conflict in the eastern part of Ukraine. The Americans and the rest of their friends in the West, they will not tell us about the over 61,000 refugees to Russia from Donbas. And Russia has to contend with these over 61,000 refugees. When President Putin, what he did, when he recognizes the independence of those republics, he is now accused of invading Ukraine. What he has done is agreed in the peace that was signed by the leaders of these two republics that they will give practical support to the two independent regions. But the narrative in the Western media is that President Putin has invaded Ukraine, something which is not correct. Now, the American Democrats does not recognize that the people of Lugansk, the people of Donetsk, 8 years ago, voted in a referendum to be independent. Democracy were always told it is the will of the people. And the will of the people prevailed some 8 years ago. And the President Putin simply respect the will of the people. But those that claim to be champions of democracy are opposed. They see this as an invasion because their own economic interests are threatened. So in the next video, as I said earlier on, that we will get either a comrade from Russia or another comrade from our own to discuss the economic interests of the European Union, the Americans. There's gas. Germans have suspended the gas pipeline. We will, in the next video, discuss all these issues because the American and Western democracy is not based on the will of the people. It is based on its economic interests. Otherwise, like this video, please subscribe and share with others. As I'm saying, we will give a detailed account, but we just needed to respond to say there is no invasion of Ukraine by Russia. What is there is that President Putin simply recognized the independence of Donetsk and Lugansk. This is what happened, nothing else. And he is giving practical support to these two independent republics. Otherwise, please, let's continue to engage. Goodbye.